Let today's story be a cautionary tale. A company that absolutely screwed over their most hardcore fans to please the market has now been kind of dumped and punished by the market. Capcom, they will not be loyal to you. Okay, let's get into the story. No one's particularly happy about Monster Hunter Wilds right now. On Steam, the recent user reviews are 17% positive. Devs are clearly frustrated enough to move entire content updates forward by a month. And now, even the people Capcom wanted to please the most have turned on them. That's because the stock market, investors, and shareholders are no longer that happy. Because after releasing Monster Hunter Wilds with weaker optimization in PC, Capcom are reaping the rewards of their sales cratering by 95%. It's a pretty big number. Now, I'm a gamer, you're a gamer, and you know what we're like. So, my fellow gamers, come to the front of the class, it's time for a lesson. Part of this is how I went from awful sleep to fantastic sleep, and how today's sponsor, Manta Sleep, has been a huge help in that. So what Manta does is actually really simple. They make...
Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is a great product. It's Manta Sleep, guys. Go check it out if you can. But we are going to go straight for the content that you clicked on the video for. But check out Manta Sleep if you need that specific product or service.
And 77,000. That is the number that VGC spotted in Capcom's first quarterly investor report. Oh, it's a good number, because it's the number of copies of Monster Hunter Wilds that just sold. So just shy of 500,000. But you need to compare that to the slightly over 10 million from the first month. It is a 5% increase, and it's one that Capcom themselves say is, quote, soft. Which does seem kind of apt, and VGC notes something else here. Even the previous title, Monster Hunter Rise, sold 389,000 copies during the same period. Comparing the release dates, in no way should things look like that. Now, we've been talking about this since the launch, right? There were widespread complaints across all platforms, but especially in PC. And those complaints do actually filter through to potential buyers, especially because PC is heavily concentrated in Steam, and those user scores have been red for a long time. But before we dive into why these numbers crashed, we need to talk about how the people Capcom chose to pursue did not save them in the end. Before this game launched, we flagged something absolutely crucial. Capcom released Monster Hunter Wilds to plug an incredible gap in their balance sheet, and it's kind of amazing. What they basically did was a massive gamble that required humongous sales numbers, but not impossible sales numbers for a series as popular as Monster Hunter. It was a risky gamble, but it is one that initially paid off. And by paid off, I don't just mean the sales. The reward after the financial year was literally the highest stock price that Capcom has ever had. Now, just so that you understand this, they basically had been posting like 10% growth a year, right? And they'd be doing this for a decade. And essentially, to not break the streak, they needed to make a shitload of money really quickly. And that is basically why Monster Hunter on PC was simultaneous shipped, obviously to the great detriment of the game. So that was really good, happy stock market. But of course, the consequence of this was really bad long-tail sales. And after Capcom reported those sales, their stock fell nearly 10%. Now, it still is among their highest figures ever, but it's a noticeable drop. Basically, the line did not go up. And what I like here is that a company has actually been appropriately punished. I mean, we can be very critical of the market and a lot of the short-termist incentives. This is an example, though, where the short-term thing they did has obviously been bad for shareholder value. Because you care about shareholder value, you probably want lots of copies of Monster Hunter to sell for a long time. But no, Capcom had to go and cock it all up. Now, they had spent the last 10 years playing it incredibly safe, posting consistent, constant growth, stable development platforms, stable tech, lots of really good releases, and developers actually being able to deliver in franchises both big and small. And they were rewarded with incredible sales growth and a nice solidly increasing stock price. And they absolutely did benefit from Monster Hunter Wild getting out the door with absolutely shit PC optimization, but it does seem that it was not in the long-term benefit. So let's get to the sales figures. Sales normally drop over launch. That's a guaranteed thing, but to drop this much, this fast, especially for this franchise, it is worth interrogating. And I'll start with what's the most obvious answer. It's that maybe Wilds simply hit its total addressable audience at launch. It has a $70 base price, kinda steep, and it only went on sale once, and only at 20% off. So that's a high bar for purchasers who are on the fence, so the total addressable audience at this current price maybe had been capped out. I mean, certainly it's a game you won't be taking a gamble on when better reviewed games exist. Rise and World are actually available on the very same platforms with far more content. So with no new incentive at that price and no societal pressure from public enjoyment, nothing really moves the needle on Capcom's sales figures yet. Though admittedly Capcom will have Monster Hunter Stories 3 and Resident Evil Requiem coming. Now those will pad out their
Mhm.
balance sheet to be a little bit more healthy this year. With those new releases, they won't be in a position of like needing just for their catalog sales to prop the business up. But what is notable is that right after this call, Capcom released the $75 7-disc soundtrack as DLC in Steam. Maybe that will raise some revenue. I kind of doubt it, but compared to the rest of the catalogue, it is especially harsh. Devil May Cry 5 sold 1.78 million. Resi Village and 4 both outsold Wilds at 923,000 and 706,000 respectively, and even Street Fighter 6 sold 538,000 units, the latter almost certainly being thanks to the Switch 2 launch. For the Resident Evil increase, we can maybe think that's Requiem's reveal getting people hyped again, but then there's Devil May Cry's outsized impact, which is pretty much being put entirely on the new Netflix animated series being a hit and getting 5.3 million viewers. Again,
Mm.
regardless of whether existing series fans enjoyed it, clearly a shitload of people saw Devil May Cry and ended up buying this game. And Monster Hunter already got its movie. The less we say about that, the better, I would say.
Oh
Not least
man.
because the bigger story here is about library availability and accompanying price drops during sales, because those things are key to drawing in new audiences. But you also get new audiences need positive sentiment towards your games. Because despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, people aren't that stupid. Based on Capcom reporting that over 50% of their American sales were on PC, well, we know how important PC is to Capcom's Monster Hunter Wild sales. So, what do you do then when your review score is threatening to drop below 50% lifetime and when your overwhelmingly negative reviews are sitting at a lovely 86% negative? Well, if you're Capcom looking at this, you're going to have to try some sort of unconventional plan, because technical fixes take time. And the good news is, we actually have got some confirmation of what those plans are. Game director Yuya Tokuda posted this message to players, and in it, he apologizes for the time that improvements are taking, but more importantly, he did confirm some major changes. So, they're moving features from late September to early August. They're hoping that will placate people. That means 9-star monsters for HR 100 plus players, it means new appraised talismans with random weapon skills, and it means balance changes being expanded from 5 weapons to 11 weapon types, and those are all upward adjustments. He also admitted something kind of critical. The Title Update 2's downward adjustments were way too far. Basically, they tried to balance the game better, but they just ended up making certain playstyles that people liked less viable. So now they're reversing course for a bunch of weapon types. But if you want a sign of just how hurriedly this planning is, well, the August 13th patch date kind of does confirm it. It's actually so early that Tokuda even apologized that Support Hunter adjustments wouldn't be ready in time. So they're clearly rushing content out to address player anger. I mean, why else do you pull features forward this much, even though doing so absolutely does risk the quality of your delivery? Now, as for PC optimization, he acknowledged the elephant in the room. So they've reduced anti-cheat processing load by 90%, but real CPU load reduction won't actually come until the 4th title update this winter, which is months away. That's absolutely going to sting. And obviously, there's lots of risk here. If these systems that are pulled forward don't land with people or introduce bugs, then Capcom will have rushed content for no huge benefit. But at least we're seeing some open communication here, and it might be paying sort of dividends. I mean, whenever we started doing this video, it was 16% recent reviews. Now it's 23%. So, yeah, only up from here. But there's one thing Capcom really does want to go up, maybe even more. That's revenue. Now, how are you going to get more revenue when this is really a game that people should not be buying for quite some?
I mean, $70, I understand that's a lot of money, but that seems about average, at this point. I think 60 was the average not too long ago, but 70 is starting to become more and more realistic. And then um, another company, I think you guys know what I'm talking about, is rumored to have their games base price be 80. Now, there's two sides to that rumor. Some people say that it's only for certain games. Some people say it's going to be for all games, and most of the people believe that, or most of the video game community believes that, even if it's not for all games, it's going to set a standard that will eventually encourage other companies to make $80 the average price for every single game. Um, Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. I really hope that doesn't happen. But $70, yes, that's a lot. But sadly it seems about average. And yeah, yeah, that this is just, it's not like it's $100. Well, this is say this $70 is probably for like the standard game, not for any type of bundle or expansion. So if this is the price of a standard game, yes, that's definitely a bit steep. So I hope that things change, and I hope that Capcom finds a way to make it more affordable for the base, and then maybe charge 70 for like the game than something else to encourage people to invest in that higher price.
Time. The answer, my friends, is very simple. It's what every game does. Boobs. Okay, no, abs, other bit, everything that people like, shown off by digital swimwear. Yeah, basically, they're pulling a Marvel Rivals. If you need your numbers to go up, then just sell people swimwear for their characters, because those
Wow.
always sell. Now, admittedly, this one is paired with 3 weeks of free in game activities and rewards, which is pretty good. It was probably also planned well before any
Okay.
chaos began,
I
but it will
called it.
likely sell well regardless.
I called it. What did I tell you guys? If you want people to spend more money, you have to give them more for what they pay for. You have to give them like a bundle or an expansion or more perks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It works every single. He's right. It works every single time. And people, despite the price, people are definitely going to pay for this.
And I guess it makes one thing pretty damn clear. If you are an aspiring game developer, simply just make money by selling swimwear in your game. It works every time, apparently. With all this going on, people are kind of worried that they'll just forget about the game and move on to the next thing because basically it's FUBAR, there's no point. Well, we actually know Capcom are not giving up in this game. They're being very specific and very open that they know PC players are not happy. But of course, knowing and then being able to do something about it, those are two different things. And while the
Right.
development team is trying to get the game running acceptably in PC, they also need to address the gameplay complaints, which span every game version. And then, overarching all of that, there's Capcom's demands for the game to make as much money as it can as a product. But the real question is how much work Capcom will need to do before then. How do they convince players that the expansion is coming for a base game that is changed, that is actually better? And in a world where a performance as bad as this one makes all of us look to the other skeletons in the closet, like some of the silly monetization they do, or as an example, Dragon's Dogma 2 being broken for way longer than it should have,
Mm.
guess you do just wonder, is the camel's back broken? Is that why there are less sales? Well, in a good world, the camel's back maybe should be broken. There probably should be real punishment over such a big letdown. But here's the thing. Call of Duty still sells. It sells massively. And I have a slight little
Yeah.
suspicion that Andrew Wilson's Mad Lads will probably not do a Wild Hearts 2 to try and take this series out.
What? What? Hold on.
Because it's EA, and I think they're basically terrified of everything by now.
Right. 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 I'm going to cut off his little the ending of the speech there. But yeah, guys, we shall see. So some people probably do like this game, um, just because this was a a more negative perspective of the game. I'm pretty sure there are some people out there that love it, even if it's just a small group, and we have to respect that too. I don't want to be the person that, just because a game's not doing well right now to really like twist the knife and really um, just demonize it. Um, Capcom made a mistake, and the thing about making a mistake. as far as the video game company goes, is that they also have the power to correct it. It's just going to cost a lot of money. It's going to cost a lot of money, and they usually only do this when there's potential for people to spend more money in order for Capcom to recoup the amount of investment they put into it. If they see that enough people are playing the game and see that there's potential for people to rejoin the game or repurchasing the game or just purchasing it for the first time, if the game gets better reviews because of the updates and the improvements on it, they would absolutely 120% invest in correcting all the problems here. They already announced that they would, but I'm pretty sure they're only going to go through with that if the potential for sales are getting higher again is there. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna have to give this game a try. I've been too busy playing other games, but I want to give Monster Hunter a chance. Um, Rise is probably the better option right now because Wilds needs some maintenance, but we'll see. Um, I want to hear from you guys as far as your experience with the game. Do you agree that it's dead? Do you agree that there's no chance of it ever being restored to its, I don't want to say original glory because it came out bad. I guess being corrected, being fixed. Or you think that again that there's no chance for this ever having any chance of being good ever. Keep it simple in the comment section, guys. And I've been on Act Clear, and you guys have been amazing. Take care.